Oh hey dude, what's up? You're here. Welcome to the debut of my new format / series, the Jalloreview. These will be short-ish reviews of movies I've seen, and at the end I give them a score. And there's even a twist to this format that I don't think has been done before that you'll see if you stick around till the end. Wink. Because I just graduated high school, I felt like a great place to start this series is one of my favorite high school dramas of all time, The Breakfast Club. Now to start off, everybody I've ever heard review this movie just harps on how it's a phenomenal teen drama the entire time, which is absolutely true, and I'll get to that shortly. But I feel like people aren't recognizing the latter half of this drama comedy. This movie is fucking hilarious.
A naked blonde walks into a bar with a poodle under one arm and a 2-foot salami under the other. She lays the poodle on the table. Bartender says, "I suppose you won't be needing a drink." Naked lady says,
I would say almost all jokes told here land and still hold up to this day.
"Forgot my pencil."
There's this one specific movie trope that I really enjoy, but it's sort of a double-edged sword because it's very difficult to pull off. This trope is called one location or one setting films. If you've noticed, The Breakfast Club doesn't really have a single scene outside of the boundaries of this school. The only outside shots we get at all are of the football field and on the front of the school. Now that may not sound like a big deal, but when you think about it, a lot of movies aren't filmed like this because they simply aren't good enough. If a bad director made a movie in one room, it would feel cheap, boring, and lazy. But if it's done correctly, it can flex your directing skills like nothing else. Movies such as Reservoir Dogs or The Hateful Eight can afford to use limited locations simply because the characters are so compelling that they can carry the movie and be consistently entertaining. The Breakfast Club does this as well, on top of having a pretty dang short runtime and the great pacing I've come to love from John Hughes' films. Even though The Breakfast Club is almost 40 years old, these characters are still so perfect. It's honestly one of the most real depictions of teenagers I've ever seen. Every person who's ever attended high school before can get something out of this movie. Maybe you were an athlete in school and you can relate to Andrew's struggles with pressure. Or maybe you were more popular and can sympathize with Claire's feelings towards her oppressive friend group. Now when I first saw this movie many years ago, I related to Brian. But as I got older and school got a lot harder for me, I found myself relating to Bender's attention-seeking outbursts more. But this movie isn't just holding up a mirror to high school stereotypes and helping the viewer come to terms with their place in society. It shatters those boundaries and strides even further. The moral at the end of the movie is that nobody is just a jock, a nerd, a princess, a weirdo, or a criminal. All of them accept each other's quirks by the end of the film, and they collectively realize that they are so much more than the labels that have been placed upon them. I've heard recent reviews of this movie saying that high school is way different now and that people don't still fall into these same stereotypes, so the movie isn't as effective as it used to be. And to that reviewer, I'm gonna go ahead and say you're completely wrong. Like, what the hell, were you homeschooled? For example, by the end of this movie, Andrew and Allison get together. At my school, a weird girl and a football player or wrestler would probably never form this kind of relationship because of the walls that they've put around themselves. Students inadvertently segregate themselves into these groups still to this day. And even though I said I could never see this kind of relationship happening, deep down, I can. An athlete in a basket case can fall in love. A delinquent and a preppy girl can also fall in love. The Breakfast Club shows that unlikely friendships and relationships can happen, but so many of those opportunities are squandered by their own faults and insecurities, not wanting to be seen in the hallways with a loser. This movie should probably be shown to students in their sophomore or junior year, to be honest. Pretty much the only complaint I can think of is on my most recent viewing, I kind of realized that Allison's makeover was a little bit of a misstep. It's still a good scene and it makes me happy to see that Claire and Allison bonding and becoming closer friends, but I just think they could have went with a different message. I don't really think she should have had to change the way she looks to be with Andrew or to be seen as beautiful. Goth Allison is the best girl in this movie for sure. Also, I really didn't know where to squeeze this into this video, so I guess I'll put it here, but Bender and Vernon's confrontation in the storage closet has some fucking amazing tension. Vernon abusing his position to feel powerful over this abuse victim who doesn't even have an outlet for his feelings. It's really deep and it's all too real. But overall, that's what this movie is all about. Despite being a hilarious romp with 5 teens in a single location, it manages to have insightful dialogue about issues like suicide, abuse, sex, and the social construct and hierarchies of schooling. Issues like that constantly clutter the mind of a young adult. Now, before I end this video by ranking the film, let me talk about how the Jalloreview ranking system works in the first place. I'll start off by scoring the movie 1 to 100. Then, at the end, I'll show a scoreboard or leaderboard, basically. This first board will only have the first film on it, but at the end of my next Jalloreview, the next film I talk about will also be put onto this same scoreboard. This whole series is basically just an elaborate ploy to allow me to rank every movie of all time. So starting off the leaderboard is The Breakfast Club in my current first place and last place spot with an 87 out of 100. Will the next film I review beat out The Breakfast Club's first place spot, or will it remain the champion? Tune in next episode to find out. Want me to review a certain film? Leave it in the comments below. I'm like 100% positive I will respond. Have a good night, and remember, rock over London, rock on Chicago.